So Matt, you've been playing PES, right?
Yep, been playing a bit of PES lately.
Go on then. So what are the big changes this year then?
Um, well, most of these kinds of games like PES and FIFA, they're not really massive change. They're more kind of the little details. So, like for example, with this new PES, there's little changes to the dribbling, so it's a bit more fluid, a bit more. You can change direction much more quicker, and sort of try and wrong foot the player one way or the other. Set pieces
Mm.
are a bit changed a bit with it's a bit more manual. So free kicks are a
Yeah.
lot more challenging to put away, much like, well, much more difficult than FIFA, if I have to be honest.
So it doesn't so it doesn't try and hold your hand basically.
No, it doesn't. It literally says, right, here's a ball, here's a wall, goals over there, do what you can.
Go for it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also, better physicality. So like, like the players like Messi or Marco Reus are a bit more, okay, they're not as muscular, so they can't really push off defenders, but they can completely blitz through them quite easily. Or someone like Paul Pogba who could probably just throw a man off the ball and win possession back for his
Yeah,
team.
like stockier players are easier to, let's say, barge people off the ball then.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of really nails
Right.
down like the player in my view, and also there's probably
So the game so I was gonna say, so the game kind of reacts to each player or each
yeah,
team, like individually.
yeah. It reacts to each team. So like you could what's the best way to put it? Like if you like take one player out of the team, it kind of it does affect the team. It doesn't feel like like it doesn't really matter. If you take like Paul Pogba out of the team, it's probably going to affect your midfield a lot. So you can't exactly, win like protect the defense as easy. If I can get that, is that about right?
Yeah. So you can like replace him with like let's say a kid who's just had his like first
Yeah,
like game or something.
yeah. So it
Fair
can't.
enough. Fair enough.
Other stuff. There's
So
a better presentation, so it's a bit more better broadcast feel to it. So like with the user interface and all the graphical stuff that you get from before the game, which is a really nice touch.
mhm.
And if I have to be honest, it's probably the best looking PES game ever. It looks absolutely
Yeah.
stunning. Yeah.
I was about to say like what are the sort of main graphical kind of changes then?
Aside from, better lighting and a couple more animations, which I will have to be honest, FIFA really doesn't have in my view. Um,
Yeah.
there is a couple of clubs that are, have like relationships with the Konami, like Liverpool, Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund, just to name a few, and whose stadiums are in the
Like the
game.
licenses.
Yeah, and they have their stadiums, and they're recreated to a frankly ridiculous detail. Like they even like recreated the player tunnels, like for Anfield and Dortmund, and the Camp Now or Now
Right.
Camp, whatever it's called these days. It's
I think it's New Camp.
New
I could be
Camp.
wrong though. Could be wrong.
Yeah, it changes every day nearly, and it's like recreated to a great detail. So it's like for a nerdy to nerd out on, it's really cool.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, man. Right, so what would you say are the bad points then of the game? Like if you could change anything, like say for example, if you were in charge of patching something, what would you change straight away?
um, in terms of gameplay, probably not much because it still keeps the great pace, passing, fluidity that I fell in love with previous PESs. Um,
Mm.
Master League, which is kind of like the career mode of the game. Um, maybe could be expanded on a bit because like on some leagues you just have like for example like with the Premier League, which is called the English League due to licensing reasons, which we'll get to later.
Mm.
And it has the
Mm.
English League, the English Cup, and whatever European competition you've managed to qualify in, which I just think is a bit shallow. Maybe have like another
It
cup
kind
like
of, so you're saying it kind of just falls apart on its licenses and or
yeah,
it struggled to obtain them then.
yeah, it's
Well,
yeah.
because they're licensed to the Champions League, aren't they?
Yes, Champions League
So
and Europa League has. Well,
So do they do anything with those licenses, and or do they just kind of sit on them a little bit? Like, does it feel like if you're going to a cup final, does it feel like a final?
um, I don't know. With previous PESs, when they had with the Champions League, it did feel quite, felt like a Champions League final. I think like the last one I could like 1, 2 years, like the previous PES 2016, it had like the final
Yeah.
Champions, and it felt like a final. But for 2017, they didn't have like I think it was in Cardiff last season, if I'm correct. It didn't have it
Yeah,
in,
it was. Yeah.
and it didn't have it in the game, which I thought was like misusing the license a little bit. So I thought you could have just added that in. I mean, it's not.
Yeah. It seems like they've kind of gone out of their way to get the licenses, but then they haven't done anything with them. Seems
And
like a
if
little bit of a.
and I'm afraid they've done it with this game as well, which kind of sort of
Mm,
ruins the immersion a little bit.
yeah. No, I
It,
get it. Like, just kind of trips itself up a little bit.
It'll be like
All
with
right.
FIFA,
All right.
FIFA. Sorry, it'll be like with FIFA saying, right, we've got the FA Cup license, but we can't get Wembley into the game. It'll be like, why?
Yeah. I mean, like. All right. All right. All right. Okay. Moving on. Moving on.
Mm,
Um, any improvements to the future franchise? Because as you said, like it's an improvement on last year's game.
mm.
So what would you want to see from next year's game? And you can't have more licenses because that's too obvious.
You really have to make this a challenge, don't you?
It's
Okay,
just it's on top of every PES player's wish list.
yeah, okay. We'll start off differently. I think the commentary could be a little bit better. I mean, my own because it comes across as a bit robotic, like they're reading off a script, and it doesn't feel like reactive. Feels a bit, like if X player
Flat.
does, yeah, just say, "Oh, that's a great pass," and
Mm.
all that.
Ye- Yeah, no, I get that. Like, you hear the same like after playing through it for like half a year or whatever, you
Mm,
kind of hear the same like commentary bits over and over again. It's the same with FIFA. You can play the new one and you'll hear commentary bits that you heard last year.
mm, yeah, uh, that's probably the one thing. And also, I am going to mention licenses. I mean, there has been more licenses added in, like in terms of like the international teams, which is really cool. But it feels like they could
Mm.
do more with it. I mean, like, okay, they're not exactly going to get the Premier League this time next year because that's basically EA's patch. But I mean,
Yeah,
stuff like the Italian league. I mean, they have the entire league, fully licensed, bar two teams, and one of them turns out to be
right.
Juventus.
Which is frankly absurd. It's just the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah, it's kind of
But
like you make that effort and then you just go, we can't get those teams, so we'll just leave it how it is. And you're like, just go and get it. It's not
yeah,
that.
and then replaces them with like Man City becomes Man Red, no Man Blue, and it's like
Yeah.
it for me. I'm a strict FIFA player, so try and jump to that and just like no, it just breaks the illusion for me.
And also another thing I would like to add, because I played it on the Xbox One, PES 2018, and I do know the knowledge on the PlayStation, well, on the PlayStation 4 more specifically, you can like download team kits and real team names. So effectively,
Mm.
if you want to get like a fully fledged, full license, full kitted Premier League team, you can go and do it. But they don't offer that option to the Xbox, which is kind of a bit sad,
A
really.
little bit of a yeah, it's kind of a difficult thing to kind of put it into, but it just feels like kind of dipping out on the experience.
Yeah,
But but yeah, no, where because you've written this out as well. So
yeah,
where can everyone read your glorious words?
yes. If you want to read my glorious words, yeah, you can go to www.xnevergaming.com
Go
and
to UK. So close. Yes, so
it's one of
far.
this. It's one or the other. I don't. It's like whichever website. What? Yeah.
Twitter. Where are you on Twitter?
xnevergaming.co.uk. My Twitter is at Mr_Clemens22, and you can follow
And
us at xnevergaming, and I think the same with Instagram as well,
and
uh,
Facebook.
and Facebook. Yeah, same name.
All
Yeah,
right. Well, thanks, Matt.
yeah. Thanks very much.